Well, today we are in the process of sorting our rabbits out before we get to winter. And there's a couple different aspects to that. Now, the first aspect was going through what we had left and basically doing the last big harvest. Both young rabbits and some older ones that are going to be replaced by up-and-comers. So we've gone through and done that, and we've basically harvested 12 of the rabbits out of our herd. There are some others that we will be harvesting sort of probably before the end of December, but we want to give them another week or two because they're not quite big enough. But this is our, I guess, our big bring down. So part of this was harvesting some of the younger rabbits that we didn't need for a breeding program, obviously, like extra boys and stuff. But part of it was also harvesting some of the older ones, like I say, to make room for up-and-coming does and bucks. So that we're going to take you...
That is one skilled cat you have.
Yeah, apparently.
He just launched from the ground onto you.
Didn't scratch me. So we're going to take and show you that too in a moment, sort of what we've got planned for the winter months. But first, I guess we'll show you kind of where we're at. So we're out by the woodshed, as per usual for this kind of business, but there they are. So that's a lot of rabbits to process. I'm going to get started on that momentarily. It's one of those things. That's a lot of food for us and for our cats, because we always kind of put that in there, that the parts that are not the most appetizing to us, although we could eat them, we do kind of divert to helping feed the cats. So we're going to get going on processing that, but the first part is we're going to weigh some of these to sort of get the adult weights on them, so that some of these have pedigrees, so we want to keep track of that. One thing we were just commenting on too before we get into processing is we're going to try to salvage as many of the sort of pelts as we can, and probably try to come back to that in the winter months potentially. But you can really, when you look at these hanging here, you can really see, and this is part of the thing about the aesthetic side of selection too, right? You can see why these were raised at one point for their furs, obviously not exclusively, but there's quite a bit of uniformity there, which is what you want if you're using furs, because you want to try to match things to make bigger garments. We did a little bit of part B here yesterday afternoon, but we didn't get it all finished, so we're going to show you kind of what we're up to, because the second part of this sort out is basically moving the rabbits from their current location and making sure we keep track of everybody by line, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. So I'll show you where we're at so far. This is the location where basically the rabbit herd has spent pretty much most of 2021, and mostly because this is shaded, so in the summer months it's a little bit of a nicer location. Not the long-term solution to this by any means, but as you can see, we've started to move some of the hutches, and the plan is for the winter months to place them over top of one of our garden beds, essentially so that the manure and whatnot can just accumulate directly in the garden. So we are in the process of that. We have the two hutches with the tops off have been cleaned out, and we're ready to move. So we'll get one of them moved, and then we'll show you where we're putting them.
So here we are with the hutches starting to get moved into our vegetable garden. The first two there are kind of sitting on where our garlic grew last year, and then these ones are where corn and sugar beets were. And basic plan is, since we have the 4 lines of girls genetically, we're going to have the two, basically all 8 of the girls are going to sit on this part of the garden, and then we're going to move the boys to a different part of the garden. But this is great because then over the winter, all that great manure and fertilizer is dropping right onto where we need it to be next year. We are going to put in litter boxes, which allows us to kind of control it a little bit and move it around as it freezes.
Doesn't look like much, but the great move is done. We've got all the rabbits that are left moved over, and each one of these in this row is essentially 2 females. They're either sisters to each other or mother-daughter or some other kind of close relations of kind of the lines. You can see we go back in doubles, and we'll talk about this more, but the plan is we've got a bit of a backup here because realistically we don't need to breed all these rabbits, but rabbits are small and sometimes things happen. So this is the girls, and over here are our boys, our 3 boys. So 1 senior buck and 2 younger ones. And essentially the thought here is, by having these hutches be movable like they are, we can sort of place them over the garden during the winter months, or anywhere for that matter. And yeah, you're reducing a little bit of the having to lug the manure around. Whether we do put litter boxes in, which was a plan for some of these, because some of these rabbits are pretty well trained in the litter boxes. But anything that misses the litter box, or for those who don't use them well, it's just right on the garden. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today's rabbit video. I guess things will be quiet. It'll be just kind of the status quo from here on until springtime, when we start breeding again. But we'll come back and discuss that a little bit more, I guess, on our plan and our thought moving forward to kind of keep the rabbits a bit more manageable.